Hello everyone, and welcome to the review of the ADO A20F bike. F comes from Fatbike, and this has 20-inch wheels which are 4-inch wide. And before we test ride it, we are going to talk about some of the details. So it's a bike that comes with front suspension, but there is no rear suspension. And comparing with the ADO A20, the one with normal tires, this one doesn't come with a seat post suspension, so it's no suspension on the rear side, only suspension on the front side. The powertrain is comprised of a motor that it doesn't have a power rating there, just a voltage rating, because that motor supports up to 500 watts of power. But this, being sold also in Europe, comes with a controller that can limit the power to only 250 watts, so it's fully European legal. But you can of course unlock this and get the full power of the motor and the full power of the controller. The battery is in the frame, just like on the ADO A20. It's a 10.4 amp battery, and it has 36 volts nominal. The drivetrain is 1 to 7 index gears, Shimano set with Shimano quick shifters, and this comes working very nice. And in comparison with the A20, this one was properly adjusted from the factory, so there is perfect shifting without any kind of adjustments, which is a big step up from the other model. And I keep mentioning the regular A20. I also recommend you to check that review. I'm going to leave a link here somewhere, and you can check that bike also. That's a very good bike for city, for asphalt roads and so on. This is here in its natural environment, such as this forest road and such as this terrain, kind of Romania's Stonehenge here. Just the perfect place to test a fat bike with the fat tires on a very rough road surface. But I'm going to test this also on some asphalt to check the speed and how well it handles on some curves. Other features include dual disc brake system, so you get disc in front and in the rear. Brakes on this one came also perfectly adjusted, so I haven't had the opportunity or actually needed to adjust them, and they work right out of the box. It comes with that very nice powerful 4 LED headlight here that also has an integrated horn that's pretty loud. And it has also the nice S866 controller here that permits the adjustment of speed, power, and unlocking the top speed and power, also adjusting things such as assisted delay and power of acceleration. But this nice display comes with the old controller, and this old controller here permits only 1 assisted gear, electric gear, and 2 electric modes. So you can actually get an upgraded controller nowadays, and that will offer up to 3 assisted speeds or 2 assisted speeds and 1 full electric mode. And of course the bike also folds. The frame folds from here. It has a removable battery inside, and it also has a key lock, so it's safe when you park this somewhere, so they will not steal your battery, or you can remove it and take it with you to charge. The pedals are foldable. The handlebar here is foldable. Also the steering stem here, it's height adjustable. So this bike is also very good for tall people because it has a very long stem here and you can extend that a lot more, and the seat post is very long, so you can ride this maybe if you have up to 2 meters. This is a very tall bike, but if you are not tall, this is also good because both of them can be lowered pretty much and it's still comfortable. As included accessories, you also get this nice USB charger that is driven from the bike battery, and it will charge your phone. And you get also a free phone holder here that is kind of automatic activated. You put the phone here and it snaps and holds it in place and has this fit here. And it also comes with an extra silicone strap that you can add for added protection. It's decent and it has a quick clamp here. You can take this off really quick if you want to remove it and not get it stolen. Just like on the A20, the A20F has the same battery, same capacity. The ADO A20F actually comes with a battery that it's a few centimeters longer, but electrically it's an identical battery with the one on the ADO A20. So if you have a A20, that battery will also work on the A20F, which is actually really nice. And it has the same problem. The metal case, it's slightly smaller than the space in the frame, and this will rattle and make a lot of noise. So you need to add some of this type of things that will remove the rattle. You can use felt pads, rubber pads, anything, even cardboard, to stop it from jumping in there and making a lot of noise. So now it's time to take it for a test drive. I got to mention that I have over 90 kilograms, something like 95, and this also has about 4 kilograms. Just to make an idea of the weight that I'm going to put on the bike and how this is going to perform with that weight. Alright, so it has a key start, so you need to start it here. This turns on the power for the controller and also for the USB charger, so when you don't use the bike for a long time, be sure to turn that off. And now let's see how this will ride. I'm going to power it on. And I'm going to go directly to level 3 here, which is maximum electric power. This is already unlocked, so I'm going to see the top performance, not the assisted performance, as assisted is not appropriate for this terrain here and right now. And from the start I can feel the front suspension working. This is neither soft nor hard, and it has pretty decent travel. I don't think I can bottom this out even if I jump on it while going down, so that's pretty good. The fat tires bring a huge advantage on this terrain because they give you a lot more grip. So with the added grip you get, of course, more safety. The brakes are just like any other bikes that I have usually tested in this budget. So they are disc brakes with cables, they are not hydraulic, and they only have one actioning pad with a fixed pad, so performance is not very good, but I can lock the wheels at any moment. And on this bike I get a lot of progressive action, so I can control the brakes pretty good, so I will not lock the wheels if I do not want to, so I get pretty good control. Okay, on very bumpy roads here with rocks, and I'm going to go on the worst route here, just on the middle, so I can feel the front suspension doing the job, but I can definitely feel the non-existing rear suspension, so with no seat suspension and no rear wheel suspension, you can actually be kind of shaken up. And now that I still have a lot of battery, I'm going to go downhill, and then on the flats there I'm going to accelerate fully to see the top speed. And let's see now, full speed, full acceleration. So that was close to 40 kilometers per hour, but I got to mention a few things. This is a geared motor, and it feels that it's tall gear, which means that it will allow you to get speed, but it's very sensitive when you are going uphill. It will going to lose torque. It's not that powerful like the one on the A20, and that is because this motor permits you going faster, but that only happens if you are lighter and not going uphill. It's just like shifting gears on the car. You can go fast on the highway on 5th gear or 6th gear, but you cannot climb a mountain with that gear, so you need to lower your gear. That happens with this kind of motor, so being a geared motor, this one is better for actually straight roads, which is kind of puzzling because this bike is mostly intended for rough roads, but going uphill on a rough road may be a bit more difficult on this one and may require a lot of power from the battery, which is going to probably deplete pretty fast. Nonetheless, going on such beautiful road here, it's extremely pleasant. It's more pleasant than the A20 because of these wide tires. They give you that extra grip and comfort, and they are also very noisy, but I like that. You are going to be heard by the pedestrians and maybe the bears here and the wolves. You never know. And now the more important test, going uphill. So you can see here there's a warning sign that it's now an 8% incline, so that is something like 8 meters height on 100 meters length. And I'm going to be standstill right now, and I'm going to use just acceleration, full power, and it barely starts to move. I'm going to help it a bit because I was telling you this is a tall gear motor, so I'm not putting a lot of effort right now. Now I'm not putting any kind of effort, so it's very slowly climbing, and it doesn't actually want to go uphill really nice, but if you pedal very gently, it's sufficient to go uphill. And I can even increase the gears and get some speed uphill. I'm now on 4th gear. I'm doing something like 14-15 kilometers per hour. Now it's 13, but I'm not putting a lot of effort. It's still pleasant, but now the incline is getting worse and I feel the need to shift gears. So I'm on 2nd gear now. It's all fine. So yes, this will go uphill, but not by itself. it needs your legs to go uphill. And you can see here there's a huge voltage drop. It showed that I already have half of the battery, but if I release the throttle, it now has full battery. So this is a very high voltage drop, and that's another reason this bike will go very slow uphill. The motor is very big, and it's just an assumption. I think that this motor will run great on 48 volts. I think this bike is a very good idea for an upgrade bike when you strap a 48 battery and a bigger controller. Maybe even keep the standard controller. I need to take this bike apart to see if it supports 48 volts by default, and that will put a lot more torque into it. Nonetheless, now I'm just ghost pedaling, as the incline is not so aggressive anymore, and this goes uphill on its own power. So I can increase gear, fourth gear again. It goes nicely. Fifth gear, it's all good. But please remember for what this bike is meant to be used. So that should be some kind of rough terrain, not asphalt. And how about uphill on a rough terrain? Yes, this bike still has a lot of power, but you also need to use your legs a bit. This is not for the lazy, because it will not go only on electric, but with some of your leg power, it gives you the impression that you are unstoppable, and you can go into some really rough areas. And that's kind of most I can do, because this grass is getting too tall, and there's a big ditch there formed by water when it rains. And also I don't want to get acquainted with the local bears, although they are kind of nice and cuddly. I just want to keep away from them. And look at this tall grass. It's like having a hovercraft.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past and the pettiness. A reflection of the emptiness, hilarious. You think you're worth my time, you're delirious, mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior, inferior. You know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
Alright, so you have seen how this rides, and it's time for some conclusions. I was keep telling that this doesn't have enough power to go uphill. Well, that's not actually true. For 250 watts of power, it actually has a lot more power than those bikes, because this, when it's unlocked, it has more power. So if you are comparing this with a regular locked through 250 watts bike, those will have less power than this one. So I was expecting it to have a bit more power, because this aspect, this rough aspect with fat tires, gives you the impression that this is a very powerful bike and it will just rip any kind of off-road terrain. Well, this is just a fat bike with regular normal power, and that can also comply with the EU legislation. I also like the front suspension. It's very good. It's rather stiff, and that's good for me because I'm very heavy, and this makes the front fork not to bottom out, and it doesn't make any funny noises when you go downhill or you go through bumps. It's not a very noisy fork, so I like that. I do miss the rear suspension, but there is a workaround. You can get a seat post such as the one from the ADO A20 regular model and have a seat post suspension, and because it uses fat tires, if you don't have the need for a huge range, you can deflate the tire to a much lower pressure, and that will really increase the comfort, and it will make the ride a lot more smoother. I'm using in the test the maximum allowed pressure for these tires because I wanted to check the top speed. So overall, this bike is really nice, and if you plan on going on forest paths, on rough terrain, and on bad roads, sands, even snow or things like that, this is a very good choice. And another big advantage is that this folds, so it has a compact frame. It's not so heavy. You can remove the battery, you can fold the steering column, everything. So this will turn into a very compact, space-saving bike. So if you want to have something like a small bike, but it's actually a bit bigger, you want some extra power, but you still want to be within EU compliance, this is kind of a jack of all trades, as you can call it. This is good at everything. It is not perfect in any kind of situation, but it's better than most others in every kind of way possible. Another thing that I like is the gearing. Even though it's 1 gear front and 7 in the rear, with this drive gear, the range of the gears on the rear wheel are just perfect, because on the first gear you get enough power to go uphill without doing much effort, and with the electric motor you really go uphill, and on the last gear you can really get some speed combined with the motor power. So the gearing is just perfect. You don't have the need of putting here a bigger or smaller drive gear. It's just kind of the perfect combination between the available gears. So that was it for now. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Until my next one, see you and bye bye.